Lijepi pozdrav svima i dobrodošli na naš 4. webinar projekta Najveća svjetska lekcija u Hrvatskoj, kojeg provodi Institut za društveno odgovorno poslovanje u suradnji s partnerima, udrugom Lijepa našom, osnovnom školom Bukovac iz Zagreba i prvom privatnom gimnazijom s pravom javnosti također iz Zagreba. Moje ime je Anita, ja sam iz udruge Lijepa naša. U današnjem seminaru pričati ćemo o ciljevima održivog razvoja u obrazovanju te primjeri dobre prakse u međunarodnom programu Ekoškola. Na tu temu će vam prezentirati naš današnji gost, gospodin Pramod Kumar Sharma iz Zaklade za odgoj i obrazovanje na okolišu. Kako je naš gost predavač priča na engleskom, tako da će zapravo od sada nadalje cijeli webinar biti na engleskom jeziku. Hello and welcome to our 4th webinar of the project, World's Largest Lesson in Croatia, which is implemented by the Croatian Institute for Corporate Social Responsibility with partners Association Lijepa Naša, Primary School Bukovac, and First Private High School from Zagreb. Today's webinar theme is Sustainable Development Goals in Formal Education and Good Practice in Eco-Schools program. And today's lecturer is Mr. Pramod Kumar Sharma, Senior Director, Education Director at Foundation for Environmental Education. Pramod will present links and ways of SDGs implementation in Eco-School program. Dear Pramod, thank you for your willingness to participate in this webinar and help us to explain explain a little bit SDGs to teachers in Croatia. Hello, Pramod.
Yeah, thank you. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And this is a great opportunity to be able to speak to you all and share the work that we are doing as part of SDG. As you see, we are looking at SDG as a framework for action, and positive action is one of the key principles on which education is based, or in Foundation for Environmental Education, particularly as part of the Eco-Schools program. So anything that we try to do is around the concept of doing something good for environment, and SDG provide that framework as a global goal or global target agreed by all the countries in the world. I'm not able to move the screen. Yeah, now.
Is it better? Yes.
So this presentation, I will be talking about the Foundation for Environmental Education and Eco-Schools, how the concept of handprint as a positive action for SDG is visualized. I need to go to the previous screen. Education for and of the SDGs, positive action competence, learning strategies, handprint action outcome, and assessment of positive action. So you might be all aware that Foundation for Environmental Education is a network based in Copenhagen. It's a member-based organization. We have 98 members in 77 countries. We run 5 environmental education programs, and recently we have set up a global forest fund, which is basically to compensate carbon emission from the travels that we do as part of running our programs and projects. And in November, we will be opening it up to let anybody in the world to contribute and offset their carbon emission due to travel. The programs in formal education are Eco-Schools and Eco-Campus. Learning about forest is a program which is based on outdoor education, helping children to get experience in nature and get connected to nature. Young Reporters for the Environment is a program that focuses on development of skills for constructive journalism and thought leadership. The other 2 programs, Blue Flag is on applying environmental management principles on beaches, and Green Key applies sustainability concepts and motivates the tourism industry to become more sustainable. As you see, we have around 51,000 500 schools globally, engaging around 1.9 million students and 1,300,000 teachers. We are spread in different parts of the world. As of now, 67 countries are implementing the EcoSchool program. And then we have international schools in another 40 countries. So 107 countries globally are implementing the EcoSchool program. We go to the next slide? I'm not able to move it. So you are all doing it, implementing it. Just wanted to reinforce that all the projects, and this is are done through the 7-step process. And this is one thing that links or is the character of any EcoSchool program globally. The 7 steps, essentially, if you look at it, are a step by which problem solving is done by student. So it is like planning an action, doing an action, monitoring and evaluation, which is basically seeing how and what has been the impact of that action, and then again taking an action, reviewing it, and this cycle continues within the 7-step framework. And children, which is then linked to the curriculum, the ethics, which is the eco code, and the inform and involve activities by which children who are engaged with projects, environmental projects in the school, inform their peers and also their parents and other communities around them. We recently, in the last year, came out with the publication Positive Actions for the Sustainable Development Goals. And positive actions are basically the behaviors that we want every child to take as part of the educational process, and output or learning outcome of the educational process, and towards achieving sustainable development goals. As you might have experienced, there are 2 aspects of learning sustainability or learning about sustainable development goals. So one is learning about the issue. So when we look at the sustainable development goals from 1 to 16, they are addressing one problem or the other problem that as a world we are facing. So it is learning about the issue, and the SDG 17 is about partnership and what we can do together to achieve all the sustainable development goals. This is also learning about that what are the targets in each of the sustainable development goals. You might be aware that 17 SDGs have 169 targets, and each target has some indicator by which the world is measuring their progress, which is regularly updated. We are already running into the 5th year of sustainable development goals, and the world is coming together and are trying to understand how the progress is being done, and will be making some of the UN agencies are reworking their plans to achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030, and they're also often called the agenda before the world to achieve different development indicators. The second aspect of sustainability is learning and engaging with the issue. Engagement means getting our actions together as to young people or students as part of the educational process, and it is a transformative process by which through the 7-step pedagogy the students develop the outcomes or behavior skills that helps in achieving SDGs. The program what we are talking about is on hands-on engagement with the issue, which helps in development of the skills to take up a given problem, and that requires positive attitude and an attempt to solve it. So what we have taken is to visualize is the concept of handprint, which was launched in 2010 at the UNESCO's 4th International Conference on Environmental Education held at Ahmedabad, India. So handprint as a concept, which is different from footprint, represents the belief that we can make a difference through both individual and collective action. And it symbolizes positive action. So it helps basically to make actions intentional and provide experiences and action that are very close linked to the daily life. So you all are, because we might be aware of that the SDGs were agreed upon in 2015. There are 17 SDGs and there are 169 targets. And the education for SDG is the target SDG 4. And I'm talking particularly, which is important for the work of sustainability, is the SDG target 4.7, which is a driver by which we have acknowledged that education is the key to achieve sustainable development goals. And it basically also helps in planning and doing activities as part of SDGs, by which it engages with individuals to help and contribute in meeting the agenda of 2030. So if we read SDG 4.7 as part of the SDG target 4.7 as part of SDG 4 on quality education and lifelong learning, is basically talking about that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including among others through education for sustainable development. And education for sustainable development basically means achieving skills and competencies that help in development and taking actions towards sustainable development. And it also talks about promoting sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender, promotion of culture of peace, non-violence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and culture, which is basically peace and tolerance, along with equity. The reason we are saying we have to frame it positively and we have to call it handprint, not footprint, is basically that negative messaging lead to anxiety and despair. It is especially when we are looking at the issue of climate, it is getting people into a lot of anxiety, where they are thinking that if we don't change, we might all perish or the earth might not survive. Earth will survive, but the question is that whether with humans living on it or not. So we are trying to frame, as part of our program, trying to frame the issue of SDG as positive solution that we can bring to make Earth sustainable. And it requires action competence, which is demonstrated through positive thinking and attitude. Also shows the prospects of a future that is possible. So it tells us, Agenda 2030 tells us that if we want sustainability, how we can achieve it, and under each of the sustainable development, what actions that can be taken. And it's also about appreciative inquiry, because the issues are not same everywhere. So it helps contextualize the problem in their community, in the village, their city, or the country they live in, and leads to find or appreciate with a question of what I can do to solve or achieve the sustainable development goals. And the definition of action competence is important, and I think our education system has not been able to take due acknowledgement, or has given the space that required to develop the students' capacity to critically select the possible action that may solve the problems of the society through democratic mechanisms. So it is basically, to sum up, ability to take actions from the choices that are there before us when we live in our family, community, school, society, or as a matter of fact, every time when we are taking a decision. And action competence requires active learning. When we are saying active learning, we are meaning that the student is just not listening to somebody and gaining information. It means that when the student is gaining information, he is simultaneously thinking what we can do and why we are doing this activity, and also think at different complex level, which is analyzing the problem, synthesizing different options, evaluating using a criteria. When we look at the 7th step, it is basically developing monitoring and indicators, doing environmental review, planning those actions. And then we need to understand when we do active learning, and as a teacher, we need to have this, need to take note of these principles, which might be there in the lesson plan that you are implementing on sustainable development goals as part of the world's largest plan, lesson plan. So first is that it is purposive. People are the students understand the purpose of doing that activity is not just a theoretical exercise, but how this helps in solving the issues. It helps children to discuss and reflect of how and what it means to them, their family, their society. It is a negotiation because all the actions cannot be taken or all the solutions are not possible. So in the best scenario, how and what we can do. We are all critical as part of that principle of active learning is that there is that students appreciate the different ways and means of learning the content, and also having different experiences. And the complexities are there, we understand that, and so for that reason we try to give them a simulation or an experience of a real life situation, and as they do it often, they grow in age and in experience. As adults, they are able to anticipate and take decisions better. It is always driven by situation, and so the issue would be, as I mentioned earlier, different in different countries, different families, so they need to plan and understand sustainable development goals in the context that they live in. And it is all about engagement. It's not theory, but engaging with the problem and solving it. So the key enabling environment that, or the learning strategies is basically is that teacher becomes a facilitator, and there is a collaboration and co-learning among the students, teachers, everybody who is involved, and with other schools also. It encourages project-based learning, which is motivated by a question. The question could be like, what is my carbon emission in the world, goal SDG 13, and finding out that how much energy I am using in the school, and then looking at how we can reduce that carbon emission. Or it could be how much meat we are eating, and or how much food we are wasting. So the question is important. It is learning by doing, visiting sites, learning from different experiences of other people, engaging with experts. It is also about gaining experience by doing different services. For example, the service learning that we do as part of a program on cleanup campaign. We clean up beaches, we clean up places by taking or picking up litter. Then it is a simulation. It is also involves reflective essays. It's important that we involve and engage students in doing action, but the real happening happens when we come back in the class and discuss and reflect on the experience of taking that action. And it is storytelling, visualization, and then also a lot of celebration that can be engaged and need to be done to keep everybody motivated and connect with the days that we celebrate around the world. Now I'm sharing some of the example and case studies. This is the first case study of a project that was done together between Northern Ireland and Madagascar. And it is to do with SDG 3, which is on good health and well-being, for quality education, clean water, 6, and participation for the goals. So the two schools came together and then they identified the question on the theme of water. So it was a collaborating inquiry. The issue in Northern Ireland, the way they started was the water consumption reduction was the problem. And Madagascar was basically the issue of getting clean water. So when they exchanged their notes and had an interaction the way we are having using Zoom and Skype and online through emails, they found that in Madagascar the school can get water by having a borewell or a hand pump, and the Northern Ireland School then ran a campaign to basically raise resources and fund. And if you might not be aware, Madagascar is down south, on west of South of Africa. So there are issues there that the project, and you can see that the children have to travel a lot in Madagascar and collect water from unprotected sources, and then they came together to do these projects. So what is the learning? And that's the important part when we look at SDG, and we need to understand is that the students at, in Northern Ireland who never faced the problem of water in terms of amount or the quality of it, they understood the importance of clean water for health and well-being, learned how properly we can manage water, and how water is used for producing food, power, livelihoods, and different aspects of it, understand the importance of water in improving sanitation and hygiene, and the connection to sustainable development goals, learns about the impact of weather and climate, how it is impacting in different parts of the world. And both the countries, both the schools learned that how water is seen as a problem. And then so this is the basically they connected €1,000 and also which was supported to sink a borehole in Madagascar. And also in 2018 the relationship continued where 84 bikes were collected and sent to Madagascar. So so handpin action outcomes after these projects are done, this kind of projects are done, is that student does not pollute water, does not waste water, handles drinking water in hygienic ways. So there is a complete list, and you can download that the publication from our website to look at the different outcomes that we can achieve through the education for sustainable development goals. The second example I'm sharing with you is the project on food waste, which was multiple country in European and is a European Union project, and the project was called We Eat Responsibly. And the students started by investigating the local issues and what in different seasons what food they get and how that is produced, and how much is that organic, and what is their meat consumption. And as an outcome of the project, 30% reduction in food waste was achieved. Apart from acquiring knowledge and the new terminology, skills, and attitudes on eating habits, basically eating healthy food. And also in that process, they understood the link of food is production, consumption, waste to the issue of climate change. And 8 countries, 12,895 students, and also took the issue to 6,683 households. This is the process which went on, and this is also the important. You see, the fourth step is important, that they created their own menu, and most of the time the food waste is because of the children not liking what is being offered to them, and then giving them an option of making their own menu and cooking and in participating in the process of putting the food on table leads to more appreciation of the things. You can find it the details on our website. We Eat Responsibly. And the publication list an SDG 2 that how this kind of projects can help in achieving the SDG 2 on zero hunger. So outcome is which is linked the outcome, the behaviors that help in achieving SDG, as that the student does not waste food, shares, use excess leftover food for later consumption. Students prefer home cooked food compared to buying it, which and using a stored or cold storage food, which has a high impact in terms of its transfer, transport, and storage of cold chain. And there are other activities like organizing campaigns, sharing knowledge, educate and consume non-agricultural produce. That is also an important, is that what we are seeing as industry is pushing that this is the certain kind of food that we should be eating, and all the food that used to be first collected, like mushrooms and everything that was collected from the fields or the forests around us or the hills, gradually that is decreasing as we are more depending on industrial production and consumption of food. And that also tries to link to the traditional knowledge and the recipes that go with that. When we look at how to assess those positive actions, the behavioral outcomes that are listed in the publication, is basically, there is no good way of doing an assessment of the behaviors when we are looking at positive action. One way is you might be keeping anecdotal records and observation, is that we reflect. The reflection in the classroom after doing the activities helps us understand that to what extent the message has reached the children and they have understood the action that need to be taken. Sometimes you can organize simulation and test them. For example, if it is regarding the food, putting food and just measuring and seeing, observing children that to what extent they have reduced their reduction or waste of food in different situation. The self and peer feedback is also an important way where students start observing each other and then tell each other that how their behavior. And this is also an important aspect of any program, is that appreciate the changes that are happening, and we encourage children to observe and themselves and people around them. Asking students to keep notes of the changes that they are making, small behaviors that they are promoting and trying to master as part of the learning process, and setting their own goals and targets for it. Doing projects again and again and seeing the impact and giving the children experience is also help us understand the impact the positive actions are taking and assess the learning that children are having. And then the last one that we always do is take tests, use different survey tools to see what difference the project has made. We had a Ekoşkola lesson plan competition, and we have selected two teachers, one from Portugal and other from Singapore, to participate and come to a national operator meeting where all the national operators from 67 countries come together for 2 days and discuss that and develop the development of the program. And we have selected 7 teachers, and we are putting together a publication of the 7 lesson plans. You can look at the link given on the Ekoşkola website, and we will be shortly uploading the lesson plans on the website. The publication can be downloaded from the material section of the website. And please feel free to ask any question if you don't understand anything, or we will also appreciate if you translate some part of it and make it available for other teachers who might not be comfortable in English. These are our key partners around the world who help us do our work. You can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can sign up for our website newsletter. So I close this lecture with the asking you to please increase your handprint, help taking positive action towards achieving sustainable development goals, and decrease the footprint that we have, which is impacting the sustainability on this environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pramo. This was very inspiring. Yes, we have the positive action for sustainable development at the moment in translations, but we didn't finish it yet, and it will be online on our webpage of Ekoškola program in Croatia. Also, we have a link on for English version at the moment. Anyway, this was very inspiring, very good ideas that you gave me that I can do with our Ekoškolas. if there's anyone who want to ask questions from attendees, please, you can do it now. But in the meantime, can you tell me, please, what can we more do about the SDGs and about to take action in Croatia? What do you think? What can we do more about this? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, did you hear me maybe?
No, please repeat.
Okay. What do you think? We are doing some of these things that you listed in the presentation, and of course Croatia was part of the We Eat Responsible project. What do you think that we can do more about it, or how can
I think it would be a good idea to I would suggest action at 2 or 3 levels. One is that document individual case studies of how the projects are being done and what the learnings are. And learning, I'm saying at both level in terms of what we can disseminate to other schools, and also learning the children are getting and what has been the impact. I think those stories to inspire that other schools to take action and get involved would be fruitful. Second is that the willing schools can connect with other schools on the same theme that they are taking in a different context and different part of the world, and that will also help them understand the issue of, for example, food, how it is different in different cultures, and how people in different part of the world see it and how they are engaging with it, and also understand that how climate change and the global problems like biodiversity loss is impacting different aspects globally, and how it translates, so they can make those linkages of a local problem to a global problem, and how a small action that they take links up to solution at the global level.
Yes, of course, good. Just one second. Ako imate pitanja, slobodno nam pišite u chatu pa ćemo prevesti i pitati. Evo. Ili ako imate na engleskom, slobodno postavite pitanje. I just said if they have a question, they can write in the chat box or just say it in Croatian or English. We will translate it.
You will have to translate.
Yeah, I will try to translate. Yeah, a little bit about the SDGs. What do you think? What are the differences between Europe, Asia, or Africa among continents in educating about the SDGs? Do you think it's more doing it here in Europe, or Africa, or Asia?
I think different issue. The problems remain the same as I shared in the example, but the action required will be different in different part of the world about SDG. Somewhere it will be reducing consumption, somewhere it will be increasing consumption. For example, taking the water, somewhere the issue of water would be in terms of getting the right amount, somewhere it getting the right quality, and then how. So I think issue remains the same, but the action and how we can contribute to achieve SDG will differ. And that's the important thing and important learning children need to get, and understand how and what it means to me at my level.
Yes, yes, of course. Do we have any other questions maybe from the participants? I have two raised hands here. Nicolina, please, can you show if there are any questions? Unfortunately, no questions, Q&As. Everybody just raising hands, but I don't know. Poštovani, poštovani, imate li kakvih pitanja možda za našeg predavača danas?
The question is in terms of how to engage students in action, right?
Thank you for Yes, how to engage students in action.
Yes. I think just go through that publication. First, we need to be clear on identifying and get children involved in first identifying and coming out with a question is that what is that I need to do at my individual level or school level. If we get children to participate from the formulation of the problem itself or the project title itself, we can get their buy-in or their participation. And the second important learning that I have is that there is no success or failure of an action. There is always a learning. So there needs to be a patience and facilitation at the teacher level to help children engage with the problem again and again and gain experience which are in form of skills and learning to solve maybe in future, but try to see that problem and getting his or her action together. The 7-step framework through the design provides that process of planning, acting, reflecting, then planning, acting and reflecting as part of when they are member of the eco committee or they are doing an environmental review, planning an action and monitoring and evaluation. So those steps help them go through those actions.
Thank you.
What is the second question? Listen.
They're just saying hello from different parts from Croatia that they are listening to you. And the second question is, how do you see the future of SDGs in schools or in schools?
To me, I think positive action, that publication provides a framework of first identifying which SDGs are important for a school and that could be a democratic process of taking 1 or 2 SDGs and prioritizing them, that what we can do. For example, it could be life underwater SDG or related to biodiversity, both 14 and 15, or SDG 13 on climate change, and identifying and saying that what action and getting them planning those projects and doing them. You can also create a SDG school, basically SDG, and have your own agenda 2030, that by 2030 what my school will do to achieve sustainable development goals. And you can look at the targets and set your own targets and help the children understand that how the targets are set and how we can, each of us can work towards achieving that target. So so my suggestion, step 1, let's go through the SDG publication. Step 2, find out which are the issues that you at a school would like to take. Step 3, get children involved, identify the issue, basically why and what we need to act on that SDG, and then plan those projects by which students can participate and go through the 7-step pedagogy of Eco School to achieve the SDG goal.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question from Željka. They are our Eco School from about 10 years now, and soon there will be, they are very near to 15 years of Eco School status, and they are asking how to move on after 15 years of doing an Eco School, in meaning how to motivate teachers and students to get more involved, to get further. I don't know if I was clear enough.
Okay, I think this is a very good question, because people are engaging and working on different issues for so many years, and how do we?
Yes.
The thing is that we need to be aware of that what are basically the nature of the change in issues and the solutions that are before us. And the what I say and always emphasize, the purpose of education is to help children being able to engage with the issue now and also in future. And the issue, maybe the water remains, for example, water or biodiversity remains the same, but the learning that we need to have in that project will change. And SDG, which was launched in 2005, basically helps us plan actions around the common themes, and the agenda, which is applicable globally, remains more or less the same. And we need to also appreciate that we, as school or as teachers, we might be working on those projects for 15 years or 10 years, but the students are not the same. Students are changing and the issues are changing, so we need to keep ourselves updated and plan our projects in a better way. With experience we can do it better, but then we have to do it again and again, the way we teach mathematics or any language or any science or any subject. The same as I would say with environmental issue. The thing is that we need to ensure that when the child is in our school and completes his school, he or she goes out with the ability to, as a citizen of the, the world, to engage and solve the problems that are there, and which problems are changing every day as such. Because 15 years back, for example, climate change or climate was not such a big issue, but it has become a big issue now, and the action that are required are different now and will be different in future. But underlying factor is that issues, awareness and action is one part, and but the development of the competencies and skills another part. Because if every student who is there in an eco school and is there for 5 years or 8 years, 10 years or 12 years of schooling, should pass out, and that should be our goal, with the skills that are required to solve the problems, which are basically critical thinking, systemic thinking, having a ability to use different criteria, take action at personal level, communicate well with people around him or her. So more or less the skills remain the same, but the students change every year.
Thank you very much, Pramod. Just a little bit in English to translate, to summarize what you just answered. Željka, evo, pričali smo o tome da iako već provodite jako dugo program Ekoškole, on je uvijek u principu isti, uvijek su jedno te iste teme koje se pojavljuju, voda, otpad, energija, ali u principu da učenici nisu ti koji su uvijek isti, da se situacija mijenja i da uvijek iznova moramo se motivirati kako bi nastavili dalje na radu, na pozitivnim akcijama, kako bi te učenike jednog dana obučili da mogu kritično razmišljati, donositi vlastite odluke na temelju onih principa koji učimo kroz program Ekoškola. Evo, to je bilo ukratko na ovo pitanje. Ima nam možda dalje još pitanja? Želi se još netko uključiti? Is there any more questions that somebody else want to ask? Okay. Pramod, do you have maybe questions for us?
No, I think just would like to understand what is your plan for this year and the next year as such? What the schools are trying to achieve?
Achieve for this project, you mean?
The SDGs as such in general?
Well, as I told before, SDGs are not so much into curriculum. We have something like trans topic version in all our national curriculum, which is Sustainable Development Goals. And SDGs here comes very well landed as to be part of our national curriculum. We are just starting also as our NGO also just starting to deal with this issue, and we first started to translate these lessons so we could actually offer teachers material that they could use and try to involve with this theme in their school curriculums. And for this year, we are planning to do 10 to 15 webinars about the SDGs, about the lesson plans from our largest lesson.
Okay.
And we will see the action. We will see the results in about a year and a half what we achieved
Okay. And if you need any
right
help,
course.
just let us know. If you need any help, we'll be happy to extend that.
Of course, of course. And also through this project, these 20 lessons that we took from our largest lesson webpage will be also uploaded there in Croatian. So it will actually be something first in Croatian on that webpage that will every teacher could in Croatia, not only part of an Ekoškola can use.
Yeah.
So this will be one of our achievements.
Great, great.
I would say. Yes. Of course, we will share all the good practices that we collect in the end.
Mm-hmm. Good to know that.
Okay.
So I think if this there are no further questions, thank you for inviting me, and you have my email ID. So if you need anything or any advice or any resources, so feel free to write to us. And I request you to also subscribe to our newsletter, where you can get updates on what is happening.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. This was very inspiring, as I said before. And if there's anything, of course, we will be in touch.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Super.
Is it recording?